There was no need to keep performing the scenarios. Everyone gathered at the forest was wary. What the hell does that mean? Some people listened to his words, but most of them didn't.
He must be a swindler.
That should make sense. What? There's no need to keep performing the scenarios?
This is a trick for him to gobble up all the rewards alone.
These people were incarnations who survived up to the 9th scenario. There were many scammers in Seoul, even if Gyumho Station's Chon Inho and Chungmuro's Gongpildo were removed. The incarnations here were one of those scammers or those who came here after defeating them. That's why none of them were easily caught by a honeyed tongue. The man on the parapet opened his mouth like he had read their thoughts. You don't believe. It's understandable. 9 scenarios isn't long, but it also isn't short. I can guess what you've gone through in the life you must have lived to come here. The basics of a scammer was to pretend to understand the other person. There were already people fed up with this.
Do you think I will be deceived by that?
Oh, what is your purpose? What do you want to say? The people who couldn't stand it started shouting. Then the man laughed. It was such a beautiful laugh that it was hard to think of him as a scammer. It is literally what I said. You no longer need to fight. You must have heard the Dokubi's explanation. This dark castle scenario has no time limit or failure conditions. If you're smart, you should already understand what this means. I looked to the side and saw that Kim Yong-pal's eyes were shining. You can continue to live in this scenario area. You can eat, sleep in, and do whatever you want. Respect the rights of your life and forget the compulsion to break this scenario. You can finish your life here, just like it was before the destruction began.
The rights of our life? Don't talk bullshit.
How long can we live in a place where demons are roaming? We have a place to go back to. People shouted like they were refuting evil. Then the man asked, Go back? Where will you return to? Of course, the place where we lived. Do you mean the perished planet?
It isn't destroyed. Not yet.
Everybody already knows. The moment that the scenario begun, your planet is walking the path towards destruction. If you go back, you will only see ruins. Even if you break the scenario, the last thing you will see is destruction.
Who are you to say that? What do you know?
I know. The planet where I lived has long been destroyed by the scenario. The shaken crowd fell silent. This person lost his home a long time ago to the scenario. The man who stayed in the dark castle for longer than anyone else was speaking to them now. That is why I can say with confidence that there is no safer place in the Starstream than here. For the first time, people's spirits weakened. Their eyes were still disbelieving, but they were listening to a story. Someone asked in a loud voice, Who are you? My name is Reinheit von Derba. I am someone who came to this land 800 years earlier than you. I am the owner of this fortress, Paradise. Then the door of the fortress opened. The expressions of the people changed as they saw the scenery inside. Reinheit saw their expressions and smiled. I once again welcome you. Welcome to Paradise. Paradise. There were numerous references to it and ways of survival. The tomb of the scenario, the nest of incarnations, flowers blooming up on the plains of despair. These were some of the descriptions for this place. In fact, most of them were true. This place is... All the party members except for me were enchanted by the sights in front of them. Lee Ji-hee, Lee Gil-young, Shin Yu-sung, and even Lee Hyung-sung. In particular, Lee Hyung-sung rubbed his eyes several times, as if the sight in front of him was unbelievable. There were residential and market areas on both sides of the main street. Voices filled with unprecedented energy could be heard. Selling the legs of a demon bug. Have a taste. Recovers your fatigue. Selling farm-grown sandro berries. It is useful for recovering stamina. The merchants at the market were friendly, and customers who paid for their goods were satisfied. People of various races and nationalities gathered, but No one seemed to discriminate or threaten each other. All the incarnations who entered the fortress were baffled by the suddenly bright atmosphere. What on earth? Until a moment ago, the words paradise and peace were just nonsense to them. Yet that nonsense was being presented right in front of them. Paradise. Some people were so surprised that they flopped to the ground. One of the hasty incarnations groaned while dropping a weapon. A friendly hand was held out to him. "Are you okay? All injured people, come here. The Paradise Clinic trains all the wounded for free. We will teach you about medicinal techniques. Learn about the difference between ether and magic power. Anyone who wants to use his sword energy can learn it. Anyone is welcome." The people living in Paradise weren't stingy about sharing. They exchanged their knowledge and regarded helping someone as a virtue. There was even cross-species communication. A demon with horns on his head smiled and waved at us. "Ah, a demon!" Some surprised incarnations pulled out their weapons, and the guards in the fortress quickly approached. "Please put that away." "What are you talking about? He's a demon." "Such hatred is prohibited here. He's also a resident of Paradise." Resident? The perplexed incarnations hesitated, and the demon who waved at them came over. "I am a demon, but I won't hurt you. The prejudice that all demons will eat humans makes me sad." The incarnations made bemused expressions at their words. Their eyes showed that they couldn't figure out what was going on. Similar scenes kept occurring. Demons, humans, and other species joined forces to build houses, went to the pub, or sat next to each other on outdoor terraces. They often sent welcoming gestures to this side. The party members were distracted by the sights like they were a tourist advertisement. The character Lee Hyung-sung is shaken by the surrounding scenery. The character Lee Ji-hee is agitated by the surrounding atmosphere. My companions' hearts were conveyed in real time. This was the first peace they encountered after the scenario began. It wasn't strange that their minds would shake. People who lived ordinary lives didn't change their essence because they carried a knife. Everything was the result of an outside force. Now, for the first time, they could escape from that outside force. It was natural to be seduced. We saw Jung Hee-won's figure in the distance. Jung Hee-won was talking to someone. It was a woman I had seen before. "Thank you so much for that time. I can't say enough thanks." "It's nothing. I'm glad you're doing well." The young woman talking to Jung Hee-won glanced at me and her eyes widened. Her emotional state changed quickly. Surprise, fear, and gratitude. Perhaps this person is... Dokshashi. The woman exclaimed, "You were that person from that time. I haven't forgotten your grace in saving my life." At first I was a bit confused, but I remembered when I saw the child holding the woman's hand. "Are you from Gumho Station?" "Do you remember? Dayoung, you should say hello." "Hello." They were the mother and the daughter who fought against the Choldu group at Gumho Station. They didn't join our party, but managed to survive until now. The mother and daughter were working at a farm here and gave us a beautiful basket. I tried to refuse, but it was useless. "We never could have made it here if it weren't for your help. Thanks to you, I could start over again. I really appreciate it." The mother and daughter had a new home and seemed to gain a new life. I looked at the mother and daughter moving away, and the memories of Gyeomho Station flashed through my mind. The regret that I didn't save more people, and the cowardly way I comforted myself by saying it was for the best. The child in the distance suddenly turned and looked at me. A smile spread across the child's face. A mild guilt flooded in. My hypocrisy was given an undeserved reward. Maybe Jung Hee-won also felt like this. Jung Hee-won looked at the mother and daughter before saying to me, "Congratulations on your resurrection. It took a bit longer this time." "Isn't your response too ordinary?" Ji-hee and Gil-young started crying. "Should I do that?" "I don't want it." I looked around with a smile, while a difficult expression appeared on Jung Hee-won's face. She hesitated for a moment before opening her mouth. "Dokshashi, can we talk for a minute?" Jung Hee-won had come here 4 days ago. She used the power of Hellflame's ignition to clear the first floor in the shortest time, and quickly climbed to the second floor. Then she reached Paradise. It was a place where the shackles of the scenario could be removed. Of course, Jung Hee-won didn't believe the man's words. On the first day, she felt disbelief, and on the second day, she doubted everything. She was shaken on the third day, and then I came on the fourth day. Jung Hee-won said, I suddenly thought about what it means to continue with this scenario. Jung Hee-won wasn't brainwashed. In the first place, paradise itself was a sweet drug. I smiled bitterly and asked her, weren't you shaken too quickly? Maybe it's always been this way. Jung Hee-won smiled bitterly. Let me go! I'll pay coins! I'll pay the value of what I sold! Let me go! As we walked down the street, scenes of prisoners being dragged away by the guards could be seen. Some of them were people who entered the fortress with me. It seemed they couldn't abandon the old habit of taking other people's things. Jung Hee-won looked at the man being dragged and said, This place is better than Seoul. Yes. Species don't discriminate against each other, and they worked hard together. There are houses for everyone to live and places to work. She spoke like she was making excuses. We don't have to be betrayed by colleagues or worry about the monsters who appeared at night. I watched Jung Hee-won, who was saying such words. The judge of destruction, Jung Hee-won. She was a sword that I crafted myself in this world. Maybe Jung Hee-won was the woman who killed the most people in my group. A person who had to kill everyone to protect my principle of non-killing. We don't have to live chasing the scenario. We don't need to have the nightmares because we killed someone. There is also no more need to lose anyone. The hardest blade was the easiest to break. It was the hardest, so it was wielded the most. Thus, it was damaged the most and lost its sharpness the most. That's why it broke faster than other swords. This is a good place. My words caused Jung Hee-won's eyes to shake. I stared into those eyes as I kept talking. I think this is a safe place. It wasn't a lie. There's no safer place in the Dark Castle than here. No, maybe it isn't easier to find a safer place in all of the scenarios. I didn't want to admit it, but it was true. Paradise truly was such a place. Tokushishi, perhaps. I hurried as if I knew what she would say. Yes, I won't stay here. Why? This place isn't the end. Tokushishi knows the future. In the past, I had a talk with Jung Hee-won in the theater dungeon. Jung Hee-won had asked me about the future, and I told her she didn't exist there. It was because she wasn't in the original novel. A character I didn't know the future of? I told her, I need to continue with this scenario. Jung Hee-won thought about my words. She looked at the people of paradise. There were people smiling, talking, and willing to live again. Tokushishi, what is the end you are thinking about? I can't tell you. Then that end, is it better than this place? I couldn't easily answer because it was a question from Jung Hee-won, not anyone else. If you don't continue with this scenario, will everyone be unhappy? I wondered if the ending I wanted was a place more beautiful than this paradise. Could everyone be happy when that ending was reached? We stared up at the sky without speaking. It felt like there was something precious there, but I had forgotten what it was. As if she had woken up from a brief dream, Jung Hee-won opened her mouth. The master of this place is looking for Tokushishi. I nodded.